Okay, and the many other great champions from this region. And we selected Eldoret and Moi University as our place for the annual Software and AI Summit. Your Excellency, today we have one of our colleagues who will make a presentation just to shape the context of this AI Summit. We have a chairman called Kunal from Mackenzie. I will invite him to do a brief presentation to put what we are here for in context so that you can see. Welcome, Kunal.
Shall I use this mic? Your Excellency, Prime Cabinet Secretary, CS Ministry of ICT, PS Tanui, Governor Uasin Gishu, members of Parliament, all other PSs, all distinguished guests, what an event. I am honored to be in front of you, not too far from my hometown of Nakuru, to talk to you about what do we see, what is it happening globally in the software and AI space, and how do we bring it down to Kenya. When I was asked to make this presentation, they asked me to come and answer one question. What are the global trends and opportunities in the space of software development and AI? And I thought, what better way to answer a question than to raise 3 new questions? The first question for me, that I'd like you guys to think about for the rest of this 3 days, is the trends and the momentum that I will share just now. What implication does it have for Kenya? Number 2, what is it that Kenya needs to be able to capitalize on the great momentum that's happening elsewhere? And finally, what is it that Kenya can do to be able to capture and create new opportunities and drive economic growth through this sector? So with that, I'll get started. See this working? Someone help me? Great. So, the global space of AI, it is growing. We project that it is going to get to about $2 trillion by 2030, or just beyond 2029. And this is driven by some big shifts that we'll see now, right? So already a fast-growing sector, but expected to grow much further. What we don't see on this slide of how far the software sector is going to grow is what is the impact on jobs. So globally, millions of individuals are involved in high-quality jobs working on software development, deployment, and other use cases around the software sector, mostly in countries like India, the US, Europe, Asia. How do we bring that to Kenya? What we also see in this space is that there's several trends which are happening and are affecting the global sector of software globally, right? So I'll take you through them, spending more time on the first one, which is that we're seeing next generation software being developed using tools that we haven't seen before, right? And this is where the use of AI is coming strongly into the software development lifecycle, right from starting to develop the software, write the code, to test the code and to deploy the software, right? I'll talk about the implications of that in just a second, but to us, we see that as significantly, one, allowing a lot more people to enter the space of developing software, and improving the accessibility of software to a lot more enterprises. Today, most of the software consumption or demand, 60% of it comes from larger enterprises globally, but we see the rise of next-gen software, cheaper software being deployed, more tailored software being deployed to improve the accessibility of software to a lot more smaller and medium-sized businesses. The other 3 trends on this screen are, there's a growth in vertical software as a service. This is a way of deploying software that is tailored to specific use cases. So you're no longer just creating and developing a software that is generic, but you're making it more tailored for specific use cases that are used in industry. We also see a lot of cloud native architecture coming through, What this means is that people are no longer hosting their software on their own premises. They are deploying them on the cloud, as we see, and we'll probably hear about a lot over the coming days. Cloud will enable you to roll out your software in a scalable way, in a secure way, and if done correctly, then in a cost-efficient way as well. There is a transition towards a subscription-based software. This means there's no upfront heavy capex that we're seeing in this space, and folks are tending towards paying or charging for their software as a subscription, which reduces the initial cost for adopters, making it more accessible to even more companies. And finally, last but not the least, there's an evolving cybersecurity landscape, a lot more cybersecurity risk coming live, but also a lot more new and efficient ways to tackle cybersecurity coming to play, right? So there's a lot of trends which are happening within this space. I want to focus on the first one, and how does it matter to what we're doing? So before I get into it, I sort of briefly touched into it. What is next-gen software development? This is where you're using AI-powered tools and technologies across the software development's lifecycle. So whether it is starting from code generation to code testing to code deployment, we see different tools that are automating this process, that are making it more efficient and more productive and more effective, coming through, starting from tools such as low and no-code platforms. So platforms such as Lovable enable a non-engineer, a non-technical person like myself to go out and develop software. AI-generated code, this allows some of the big organizations to start raw coding using AI tools. We've had companies like Salesforce, like Microsoft, develop up to 30% of their code using AI. You're also seeing AI-based testing, as I've already spoken about, code review, and so on. This is not just an idea. This is happening, right? So the big companies globally which have already started deploying AI and Gen AI into their software ecosystem, whether it's Goldman Sachs, which generates code using Gen AI, it's Citibank, which is using AI in software to improve the performance. Netflix is also applying machine learning models in the software delivery process. Salesforce, as I already spoke. Is that there's going to be a change in the talent landscape. Globally, there are new job postings that are coming in the next-gen software development space. We've seen new job listings up to 800,000 per annum. That's the number that new job postings are within this space. The new skills which are coming live and that would be expected, including architecture, design, problem solving. These are the skills that are coming through rather than just focusing on being able to generate code on its own. And the new talent areas that are coming through, such as DevOps, product engineering, continuous integration, cloud computing. So a shifting talent landscape. The second one, there's going to be a wider application and adoption of software. I sort of touched on this a little bit. But now you can develop more adaptable software, more tailored software that addresses the specific needs of individual companies and with next-gen software. And when that is happening, you're able to achieve wider deployment, tailored solutions that more and more companies adopt. So you start to drive real digital transformation across companies, and more companies start to get digitalized, driving more productivity and economic efficiency. Finally, and obviously this goes without a given, there's going to be a greater focus on compliance and trust. There's lots of growing concerns on legal, security risks of software generation tools. And there's going to be, you already see in Europe, stricter data governance, audits, and risk control measures are coming in place. And we start to see that to become a norm. And compliance to those measures will allow us to be able to deploy and develop software locally to serve the world. So I sort of started by saying, what are 3 new questions that can come to mind as we talk about this, the trends and the implications, right? One was, what's the impact of this implication on Kenya? I've given you some implications. Let's start to think about that. The second one was, what is it that Kenya needs to be able to make most of this growing momentum that we see? I'll start off by giving us one more, please. I'll start off by giving us a very brief overview of how the software market looks like in Africa and where Kenya can play or position itself. So Africa's software demand or software market is about $8 billion, okay? A lot of this is concentrated in application software, enterprise software, productivity and system infrastructure software. So sort of spread out across these 4 areas. And you see obviously some of the largest global names playing and operating in this space, deploying the software in this space, including Microsoft, Oracle, SAP, Cisco. All of these companies are deploying their softwares across the different areas on the screen. What we're not seeing a lot of is there isn't a lot of local development of software that is tailored to local needs, right? The second thing to take note of is that most of the demand for software in Africa is concentrated in the 4 to 5 big hotspots. Obviously, Kenya is one of them. These are countries which have sufficient or large-sized economies and tech-savvy populations which are adopting the software. The sectors where we're seeing most demand is coming in, obviously, governments are driving software adoption. They're probably one of the biggest or the largest consumers of software on the continent, followed by financial services sector, which is obviously regulated and has to be efficient in delivering its services to the customers, very critical sector, and then communications and media, which includes telco, being sort of the 3rd largest consumer or driver of demand of software on the continent. I will go into, if you can go to the next page. Sorry, one more. One more. Sorry. There you go. Great. Okay. So we looked at all of the countries which have developed and grown their software sector. What is it that they were able to do? And one of the biggest lessons that came forward is when you develop your digital talent, that is the biggest unlock that you can have to promote or grow your local software industry. So we started looking into what are some of the areas of digital talent that are more and more in focus at the moment. AI analytics is obviously one of the big ones. Traditional tech, this includes the traditional software engineering and product development, cloud, which is the next one, blockchain, design, cybersecurity. We see this as 6 of the upcoming areas of talent where the focus is globally in terms of talent. And we were able to sort of benchmark our neighbors and regional cities within the Middle East and Africa region on the next slide to show how sort of they compare across the top 3 sort of areas that we saw. So if you're to look at this slide, we have the different cities in this region in the Middle East and in Africa, including Dubai, Tel Aviv, Cairo, Johannesburg, Cape Town, and so on. And we compare across the 3 skills that we saw, which is AI, traditional tech, and cloud. How do these cities, how is the level of tech talent across the cities in comparison to each other? And what you see is that the cities which are driving a lot of this software development by having a strong base of talent, the top 6 cities in this region, including Dubai, Tel Aviv, Cairo, Joburg, Riyadh, and Cape Town. What stands out? I think, to me, when I think about these cities, is that they're a global hub to attract talent of different kinds, right? Cities like Dubai, Cape Town, Johannesburg to some degree as well, and what Riyadh is trying to do is that they're trying to attract tech talent into the city by providing very friendly sort of conditions, expat-friendly work conditions to global talent, which is able to come into the country and develop the local ecosystem of talent. At the same time, these cities have all invested in their education system, whether it's through the universities or the tech capability builders, to be able to build the local talent. So they're attracting foreign talent. At the same time, they're building local talent such that the foreign talent can catalyze the local system, and you start to have the scale to be able to serve global needs for software. So again, this is to the second question, it's like, what is it that Kenya should start doing to be able to capitalize on this global momentum that we're seeing? Now, to the third question that I spoke about, what are some ideas of what Kenya could do? And that'll be the last slide for me from me today. The last one, please. Thank you. So we started to lay out what are some example areas where Kenya can start to carve a niche, where it starts to build software not just for the local demand, but to serve regional and even global demand. The goal of this summit is to position Kenya as a global software center, right? It's a center of excellence that is producing global software for the world. We can start from things where we have, or areas where we have fundamental activity already ongoing, and we can start to test and explore and deploy the software locally and start to perfect this art to deploy it internationally. Obviously, number one being GovTech and deploying and developing digital public infrastructure. This is all the software and services which digitalize and take onto the cloud some of the software of some of the processes of the government. After that, we have financial services. Already we're leading on a lot of financial services activity with our locally grown software, whether it is mobile wallets, it's mobile credit, microcredit lending, savings. How do we start to develop these products and export them to the world? Healthcare software, whether it's for digital claims management, it's for patient management systems, clinic management. How do we develop local use cases that can be exportable? Similarly, on agri-software, trade software, that is for retail and cybersecurity. These are areas where we have a lot of economic activity or significant need, and developing softwares in these spaces for Kenya can enable us to be one of the global leaders. So all I have from me today. Thank you very much, and I'm looking forward to an engaging set of discussions going forward.
Thank you very much, Kunal Lotia, for showcasing what it means, what globally the sector entails, what is possible in the African continent, and what Kenya can look at. And I believe, Your Excellency, this is very important information to the delegates who are here, because these are specialized delegates who are focused in